Hello and welcome to JRock's Babylon. I'm your host, Jason JRock Houston. I love that name. Jason McMaster is our guest. How you doing today, Jason?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, now we're talking to you for a couple reasons today. Number one, this is one of the latest things you released, Dangerous Toys Demolition. I wanted to ask you about that first. Obviously, it's a collection of demo tapes. Talk about how the project, came to be.
Basically, Cleopatra said, "What do you guys have laying around?"
Oh, wow.
And I mean, I can elaborate, of course, but it's kind of Scott Dalhoover, Dangerous Toys guitar player, has we both have many bands, and
Sure.
I think he was talking to them about um, one of his projects, and they got to talking about the toy stuff, and we've been writing a little bit, and there's been talk of releasing something brand new, and I think that they just kind of plateaued in the conversation at some point where they just said, "What do you guys have just laying around like right now?"
Mhm.
And Scott called me and he's like, "So they've agreed to do like a demos album," and I was like, "Okay, far out."
Yeah.
Uh, During COVID, I digitized all these cassette tapes, right?
Okay.
And all these cassette tapes were demos from like 90 through like 94.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and so luckily I had them in the computer and not just on cassette tapes
Uh,
anymore. And these particular songs on Demolition were rejects. And that's why they're just in a box in the corner.
Wow.
And all these songs were just sitting around for 30 years. And the story back then was, we were on Columbia, Sony Music, and we were writing for our third record, which, well, most people know that's the Pissed album.
Yeah, yeah.
And so during the times that the song, I mean, pretty much for the songs that are on Pissed, or I'm sorry, during the time that the songs that are on Demolition, Pissed songs were written as well
Oh, okay.
during the same writing period. So if you omit those 10 or 12 songs that are on Pissed, you have what's left over, and that's what we have culled for Demolition.
Wow,
So
they definitely sound like a very different sounding album. I mean, I could kind of see why these got rejected in the sense that probably didn't sound like they belong on the Pissed album, but at the same time, these are great songs. Like, I mean, I dare say with this, like, these songs are like a lost treasure, if you know what I mean.
a lot of people have a different opinion than you do.
Okay, okay,
And a
wow,
lot of people have their own favorite song. They have a different favorite song than you do.
yeah, that,
And
yeah,
like I'm not arguing, just I guess for sake of argument,
yeah.
friendly argument, if you will. Um, some of these songs could have been on Pissed,
Okay,
and there
okay,
are
yeah,
songs that did not make Demolition that could have been on Pissed,
yeah.
and there's songs that did not make Demolition that could have been on the artist formerly known as Dangerous Toys.
Oh, wow.
So
That's very interesting because, yeah,
when you think about the I'm sorry, when you think about the songs that are on Pissed,
uh,
like I said, those songs were written during the same time that all of the songs that are on Demolition were written.
I have to go back and give that a listen, but I will tell you, I love the songs on Demolition. I mean, one song I really dug, really what a way to kick off the album, Rock Shock Cowboy. You remember
Yeah.
writing that, or
Yeah, that was written right after we got back from the Operation Rock and Roll tour.
okay?
We, came off the road, and right away I remember them saying, what do you have right now?
Yeah, yeah,
And we said, well, we have ideas, we don't really have anything. And so they threw us right in the studio and they just said, record what you've got. Now, for the most part, Demolition is all 4-track and 8-track Tascam and Fostex mini home studio recording, like, written in a room in the basement, right?
Yeah.
And recorded on these, things that back then cost a couple $100, and they used cassette tapes, and they had 4 tracks or 8 tracks for you to record on and bounce. And anyway, and that's how the bulk of these songs were written and recorded. And I've said in recent interviews, I think that we wrote probably 70 songs, or just a ton of songs.
Wow.
And they were all reject. We were every week we'd send in 3, 4, 5 songs, and the same thing was happening for 2 years.
Wow,
Did you get the demo? Did you get the demo? Here, I'm Sony.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got the demo. Y'all keep writing. Nope, not yet. A week later. Nope, not yet. 2 weeks later. Nope. This happened for a year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
Till eventually
Yeah.
we said, hey, management, can you call the label and ask them if they can please let us go, drop the band, please? Because we're ready to go make a record.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
We already had the songs that ended up on Pissed. I mean, you know what I mean? We were writing some of the best material we had ever written.
Oh, wow.
Whether it was just our opinion or popular opinion for whoever we had played those demos for. So
I mean,
back to where we were. You had a really good question about Rock Shock Cowboy.
Yeah.
And that was one of the 4 songs we went in and recorded in a real studio, and 3 of those 4 songs ended up on Demolition, just to correct everyone's going, oh, they're all 4-track demos. Well, few of them are 8-track demos, and a few of them were actually recorded in a real studio. And those would be Rock Shock Cowboy, Backstreet Girl, and there's one more.
Okay, Coming Out Swinging, is that it?
Nope. Rattle My Cage.
Rattle My Cage, okay.
Yeah, there's one more song. I mean, if you go back and they were still, we whipped out the turd polisher and had to master these songs that were just becoming demagnified on old ass cassette tapes, because we didn't have any master reels, whether they were recorded in the studio.
Yeah.
These were multiple generations later, dubbed on double deck cassette deck machines, right? And so there was tape hiss and tape warble, and some of them have been doctored up as, we did the best we could with the outcome of Demolition. They're raw sounding demos. Ironically, the first couple singles they put out were actually recorded in the studio. Rock Shock Cowboy, Rattle My Cage, and they released Come Out Swinging, and that was actually a 4-track song. But anyway, these songs were rejects from the label.
Yeah.
And there's some good songs, and there's some bad songs, and there's some okay songs, and there's some surprises, and there's songs that we're making sure both me and Scott agreed never going to see the light of day.
Okay, yeah. Now
there's some clunkers that we've got that you'll never hear. No one.
Okay. Now,
and then there's some, and then there's some that we're probably going to hold back and release later on.
So let me ask you now, with Demolition coming out, you just got done telling us that a lot of these songs were so-called rejects by the old record company. Now, when Cleopatra was hearing these tracks for the first time, what was their response? Obviously, they liked what they heard. Otherwise,
nothing.
We would be talking about this.
Not a word.
Really?
Wow. Not a word.
That is interesting. And Coming Out Swinging, I love that track. Rattle My Cage, you mentioned, Rhapsody, and Barbed Wire.
Barbed Wire, yeah.
To me, just the titles, those all have that Dangerous Toys kind of classic feel to it, you know?
Yeah, Rhapsody is the one that could have been on Pissed. It was
Yeah,
written during the same kind of era that Pissed, the same
mm,
part of time of year, I guess, that, because I can look at those songs and go, that's probably an early 92. Oh, that's
yeah,
probably a late 92. Oh, that's definitely 93.
yeah.
So,
Another one of my favorites is Backstreet Girl, and I think I like it so much because out of everything on Demolition, it's probably the most different. I mean, it's got kind of like I mean, maybe it's a little more commercial sounding than the rest of the stuff, but I dig it.
well, see, that's everyone's going to have, I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Everyone's going to have a different favorite.
sure,
And if
sure.
we're just talking about the songs on Demolition, it's this odd bird of a record
Yeah,
because it's kind of uncooked when you really slice it. But I think some of the songs, if I just talk about the whole,
sure.
the couple of years of writing and not just limit it to what we chose to put on Demolition, um, some of the songs are cooked and some of them are not. In my opinion, Backstreet Girl is not cooked because there's this big hole in the chorus.
Yeah,
You got this melody line and then you got this chord just being held out and there's nothing there. I feel like the lyric or the guitar riff could have been doing something there instead of just this held out chord.
mm,
She's my princess. Oh, no, 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 no,
yeah,
no. Nothing, 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 nothing. Next line. Da, 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 da. Held out chord. I mean, some of them I'm going, yeah, 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 yeah. So, see what I mean? Uncooked.
yeah.
Uncooked. You don't hear it that way. You
No,
like that.
see, I'm
So,
not a musician, so I don't have musicians there. I just kind of
you don't have to be a musician to love what a song is, what
well, that's what I'm
emotion.
saying. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I kind of just listen to more like if I like the sound, you know, as opposed to the technical aspect of it.
fair enough.
Yeah,
Fair
yeah.
enough.
And so, with what has been the reaction you gotten from most of the Dangerous Toys fans, like that have been talking to you about Demolition?
Surprise.
Yeah,
They're surprised.
yeah,
They're like, wow, I was just expecting it to be this kind of half-ass sounding thing, and you know, like me and Scott on one hand, we were kind of going, well, warts and all, let's let them in on let them see the train wreck, you know, and and then, like I said before, me and Scott were also like, "Wow, I forgot about this song. This is
yeah,
pretty
yeah. I
good.
bet.
Let's
Yeah,
take this one and let's put it over
yeah,
here in the good pile, and not let Cleopatra have this one yet."
yeah, yeah.
There was a little bit of that going on, but
Oh wow.
yeah, fans that I have friends that are big fans, and they're friends of mine, and they're not gonna, they might blow hot air up my ass, or they might
Yeah,
not. They might be like, dude, I'm really surprised actually. This could have been on the first album. And I'm like, wait, what?
yeah, yeah,
And so there's some that really feel strong about at least two or three of the songs that are on here. And then they can hear what I hear about when I say, that one's not quite cooked yet. And this one could have gone somewhere if we would have kept on with it. And
yeah.
so
That's interesting. Now let me ask you. With all that being said, like when Dangerous Toys does go out and play live again, any chance that you'll be playing any of these songs on Demolition, just like throw it into the set for fun?
it's a possibility, but I'll be the first to tell you we're about to do some gigs next year. We haven't worked up any of this stuff.
Okay, yeah,
And because we don't rehearse unless we have a gig, we don't really like to rehearse.
okay,
Some bands love to rehearse. We just get up there and go for it, and
yeah. You know, and
have
and
fun.
Dangerous Toys is at a point in your career, like a lot of bands, where back in the day when you're trying to make it, and get a record deal and all that, it was all about gigging, and like you said, you guys do so many live shows a year, and it's quite different. But do you like doing it that way as opposed to the old days?
Well, I'm a different person now than I was back then. So
Yeah,
your reason for living changes
sure,
throughout your life.
sure.
The things that are important to you.
Yeah,
Uh, you know, Me spending time with my family as long as I get to do what I love,
Sure, sure.
that's a balance. That's a balance anyway. So I love gigging, I love writing, and I love recording. Some of that I might like more than playing live. I
Yeah,
love playing live, but the creation part might be more attractive to me for
yeah,
whatever reason. And that could be related to I like being sitting right here and being
yeah.
creative in my office here
Sure, sure.
than getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning to catch a 5 a.m. flight to go do a gig that may or may not be paying me very well.
Oh, sure, sure. I mean, it's a different
You
world
see
these
what I
days.
mean?
Yeah, yeah.
That sounds like politics that fans don't want to hear an artist talk about, but it happens.
It's life. It's life. And I was curious, like, another thing I've noticed about you throughout your career, Jason, whether we're talking about dangerous toys or broken teeth, or even night terror, which we're going to get into a little bit, is each project you do is kind of a little different. Although you got a distinctive voice, like it's kind of interesting when you did broken teeth. Um, it except for your voice doesn't sound too much like dangerous toys. It has very much its own identity, if you know what I mean.
Um, you're saying that
Well,
my
each
voice
project,
is
it sounds it's a little different. I mean, I could see doing Broken Teeth. You don't want it to sound like a carbon copy of Dangerous Toys, yet it's got a little bit of that influence because of your voice.
I might characterize my voice to what the song is asking for.
Oh, okay, I get it. Yeah, okay, interesting.
Broken Teeth is, it's when you break it down, it's very similar
Uh,
because it's just hard rock, you
mhm.
know. Um some of even the innuendos and the double entendres and stuff might even come off as a similar, coming from the same batch,
Sure, sure. Yeah,
but that's because it's dirty rock and roll.
there you go. Yeah,
It's not it's not science, right?
yeah, 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 yeah.
But then there's when I'm doing something a little more metal, my voice follows in, puts those boots on. It doesn't wear the same boots,
Yeah,
you know.
makes sense now. The reason I was all asking all that is I was kind of curious. You seem very much like you're a band guy because all the projects you do pretty much like based around a band. It seems like you've never had a real desire to do like release a Jason McMaster solo album. You mind talking a little bit about that?
If I released a Jason McMaster solo album, this may or may not be a surprise unless you know me, unless you're a close
Yeah, friend.
friend or family. That it probably wouldn't even be metal.
Oh, interesting.
It probably wouldn't even be hard rock.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, okay, okay. That's
because I
interesting.
write, I'm writing all kinds of stuff all the time. So
Oh, okay, okay. That's great to hear. Now, you mentioned the fact that there's a very strong possibility about a new Dangerous Toys um, album being recorded. Where are we with that, sir? Can you get into that yet?
well, we've been playing two or three of the songs live for a couple of years, so it's no secret that we've been sort of, I mean, it's just sounds more fun to say, secretly working on you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
We're not holding our breath, so we hope you're not either.
yeah,
It's like, hurry up, shouldn't take you 30 years to make a
yeah.
we're it's ready when it's ready. But to give you a report, I've been given the same report for a couple of years now. We've got like probably 6 tunes together, 7 tunes together.
Wow, wow. Okay, okay.
Yeah,
And
a few of them are even recorded
yeah,
already.
I will say
So
this, Jason, that I'm a huge Kiss fan, and so I was very excited recently when Peter Criss, after 18 years, put out a new solo album. But I will say it was well worth the wait. So hopefully that'll be the same case with Dangerous Toys, that much well worth the wait. So I'm going to be one of those fans waiting for that. Yeah,
good. Well, as long as you're waiting comfortably and not, treating
yeah,
it like it's the
yeah.
most important thing ever, because
Of course,
it's
yeah.
not. Yeah,
And so, yeah, I also recently interviewed your Night Terror bandmate Jack Frost, and we talked about that.
yeah.
Great little EP here,
Wow.
six songs. So, how did you get involved with Night Terror?
I've I'm acquainted with Jack Frost. You know, he lives in New Jersey, so the only time that I've like run into him has been at a festival or at a gig, or you know, it was years ago that I saw him when he was in Sabotage. And
Yeah, yeah.
I saw a show with Sabotage and Fate's Warning,
Oh, wow.
and it was a great gig. And you know, we chatted a little bit then, and that may have been the first time that we met face to face, and because we had been following each other vicariously, right?
Yes.
And man, that might have been in the '90s or something.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's what he shared with me. That he said that you and him have known each other for many, many years and always wanted to work together. He said, with Night Terror finally kind of presented itself.
Yeah, I mean, my friends James from Hellstar and Alan Tecchia, who replaced me in Watchtower back in like '88 or '89, they have made records with Jack under the banner Seven Witches.
Okay.
And
Yes. Yes.
that's what Night Terror was originally planned to be, is another installment of Jack Frost's Seven Witches. And he's
Okay.
already got 3 or 4 albums out under that band name Seven Witches.
Yeah.
So when he called me, it was to make a, it was in order to make a Seven Witches record.
Okay.
So um after he had started sending me songs, you know, it was a couple of years ago that we decided to collaborate. He started sending me songs. For the record, I've never met Carl Wilcox or Dennis. Carl or Dennis, I've never met them before.
And yet, listen to what this record sounds like. It sounds like you guys are in the room together. That's beautiful technology
Th-
there.
that's what everyone says, but
Yeah.
no, all the vocals and lyrics were written sitting in this chair right here in Texas. And
Amazing. Amazing.
Carl lives in France. I don't even know where Dennis is,
Okay.
and Jack's in Jersey. So,
Wow. So,
so
is there been any talks to do live shows? I know because everybody's so spread out, but like any one-offs or anything like that?
we would play a 20-minute set. You know what I mean? There's not,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
with Night Terror only has, you know,
that's true.
Jack has answered that same question like this. Oh, we could do Seven Witches songs from way back. We could
Yeah,
do
yeah,
maybe a Sabotage song, maybe throw in a Dangerous Toy song, and we haven't we haven't talked about it.
yeah.
Jack has talked about it in interviews,
Oh, I hear you.
but
Okay, yeah,
you
yeah,
know, I'm not, I wouldn't say no to
uh,
the idea.
yeah.
But yeah, back to your other question. Jack was sending me songs, you know, to start writing and recording.
Wow.
And you know, I turned in a few songs and everything was going well, and I turned in a song called "Terrors in the Night," which on the record is called, I believe it's called "Night Terror,"
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and that wasn't the original title. Is I wanted to call it "Terrors in the Night," and he calls me one day and he says, I'm changing the name of the band. It's not going to be Seven Witches. I'm like, well, damn. Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
What about, you know, all of the Seven Witches fans who are expecting this to be a Seven Witches record? And he goes, no. Don't worry about that. I've got an idea for that too. I'm not going to leave the Seven Witches people behind. I'll tie it in the
So,
title somehow. He goes, I want to call the band Night Terror. And I'm like,
okay.
okay, I just turned in the song Terrors in the Night. Surely and I'm not verbalizing this.
Yeah.
That must be where he's getting this idea from. I've spawned and, you know, I've created a monster here. That's fine.
Yeah.
And he goes, I go, so you'd have a title for the record? And he goes, oh, I don't know. I'll tie it in somehow. I go, well, just make sure the word witches is in the title, because that's going to, you know, tie it in with Seven Witches
Oh,
at
okay. Return of the
least.
Witches. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I go, what do you think? And he goes, oh, I'll come up with something. I said, well, make sure it's something like, I don't know, Return of the Witches. Boom. That's it. Thanks. Bye. Click.
I love it. I love it.
Pretty
Yeah.
much how it went. Yeah.
Yeah. And so Jack was sharing me that a lot of this music, at least from his perspective, that he was very influenced by the new wave of British heavy metal. I was curious if you were at all too.
Well, um, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, Everybody who knows me knows I'm a big UFO and Thin Lizzy and Saxon and Iron Maiden and Judas
Wearing the shirt
Priest
there.
and
Yeah, I'm
oh
advertising.
yeah, I guess I am. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So all of those bands are vital. I got into that as soon as I could. I mean, you know, you got to think about the new wave of British heavy metal movement that was happening over there. I mean, it didn't take very long for it to become popular in the States because of the tape trading scene, which was
sure.
I was a big part of, and it's how a lot of people started to hear about Watchtower. You know,
Yeah,
the game was you would make a mixtape of all your favorite shit and lick a stamp and hope that it would make it to Europe or England or Japan or whatever. And there was this
sure,
whole
sure. Yeah.
network, and that was the first version of what we can now call file sharing
Okay, okay. Yeah,
pre-internet, you know,
yeah,
but you had to lick a stamp and everyone would Xerox copy their, you know, print their copy of their tape list,
yeah.
and they would have walls of cassette. If you see back over my shoulder
I
here,
see that. Yeah,
you know,
wow. Old school.
there's cassettes and CDs just everywhere laying around back here, and it's some of that stuff I got, you know, I've had since 85, 83.
Old school, man. Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
As you can see, I much rather buy CD and support the bands and have
Yeah.
physical product, to listen to. That's
Yeah, so
just
1979, 1980, 1981, you know, by 82 and 83, all of the cool kids in the underground hard rock and heavy metal scene over here, they had a Saxon t-shirt, they were collecting copies of Kerrang magazine, they were way into it.
yeah. And what's
And
interesting is, yeah,
they, you know, Motorhead is a big part of that, and a lot of people didn't know about Motorhead until 82 or 83
right.
when Motorhead started playing in the States. The probably the biggest tour Motorhead did was supporting Blizzard of Oz.
Oh, yeah, yes, yes.
Ozzy and, you know, Ozzy's
Yeah,
Osbourne's
Randy. Yeah,
Blizzard of Oz, and that was when Ace of Spades came out. That would have been 81, 82, right? So Ace of Spades come out and everyone's freaking out, going, "Wow, I've never seen anything like that." Well, it wasn't long after that people started just getting more and more and more into Iron Maiden and Saxon, and then this band called Metallica comes out and said, "We owe everything we're doing to the new wave of British heavy metal. Everything we're doing." So
that's right. Yeah.
Metallica's very first gig, they played, I think, one original song, and the rest of it was Diamond Head covers.
Oh, wow, wow. Okay, yeah.
And they were opening for Saxon.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
when you put it all together, I mean, it may not have been their very first gig, but like their third gig, you
I
know,
got you.
they were
Yeah,
doing new
yeah.
wave of British heavy metal covers, Diamond Head, Savage, I think, and
Even
stuff like
Def
that.
Leppard got lumped into that because being from,
Well, no, not lumped in. They are
that's what I'm
part
saying.
of that.
People forget.
Here's a record that I bought. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead, go ahead.
I bought a record in 1981. It might have been early 82, called Heavy Metal Heroes, and it had Def Leppard on it, and it had Grim Reaper on it.
Okay, there you go. Yeah,
You see where I'm going? You see
yeah,
all of the bands that are in your collection, bro. They're part of this movement.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And there's 100 other bands that you've never heard of because
yeah.
they were more bandwagon, and they may not have had the hooks and the things that we all love about new wave of British heavy metal. But the world doesn't the world doesn't, they see this new wave of British heavy metal and they have Iron Maiden all over their walls, and they
Sure,
have
sure.
all the every Iron Maiden record ever.
Yeah,
Well, guess what?
yeah.
They're just new wave British heavy metal. What's that? Yay, Iron Maiden! It's like you wouldn't
Okay.
have Iron Maiden if it wasn't for that movement.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Very much true. I mean, but my point with Def Leppard was people like hear Def Leppard because they're much more thought of as like commercial hard rock today. But you go back to the first album, High and Dry, was much more. They were much more of a metal band when they first came out. You know,
well, that was, you could say that about,
a lot of
you
bands.
know, they're not really any different than Diamond Head. I mean, they were just kind of, they were into Led Zeppelin, and they were all into UFO and early Priest and
Oh,
Deep
sure, sure.
Purple, and you know that you could say the real new wave of British heavy metal started with Black Sabbath and Led Zeppelin. and Deep
Oh
Purple.
yeah. I mean, I love Def Leppard. Don't get me wrong. I was just saying that a lot of people kind of have that assumption. Now, as we mentioned, you're wearing the UFO shirt. I got to ask, you guys do a great cover of "Lights Out" on this. Whose idea was that?
All Jack.
Oh, Jack. Okay, great
Yeah, that
choice.
that song showed up in my Dropbox. It was,
Oh, okay,
emailed
okay.
links to me, and I saw it and I went, "Oh, lights out. I guess we're doing a cover of UFO." And then I get an email going, "Yeah, we're doing a cover of UFO. I figured you liked UFO, so
Okay.
I know you'll do a good job." And it's like, he knows me well enough. He knows
Yeah,
I'm not going to go fuck UFO. He knows that I'm a fan, well to do enough that, of course, I'm delighted to do a cover of any
yeah. Because
UFO song.
you know what I really loved about it. I love the fact that the original. It's not one of those records where okay, we're going to do a cover because we're lacking material here. It's a great kick-ass cover, but the original tunes are just as good, if you know what I mean. And I mean, you guys really, even though this is 6 songs, you deliver the metal goods. I really urge people to give us a listen. Go out and get it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, the you know, Return of the Witches by Night Terror was supposed to be a Seven Witches record, and it was supposed to be a full album
Okay. So yeah,
in my eyes.
yeah.
Now, I think that originally when Jack sort of like, you know, called me to collaborate, uh it was sold to me like, yeah, let's do an album, man. It's new Seven Witches. I want you to be involved. It's like, yay. I was like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
And then so he's sending me some songs, and there's 6 songs and one's a cover, so 5 originals, and I'm going, all right, I'm ready for the rest of it. He goes, what do you mean? I go, it's a full album. We got at least 10 songs, right? 11 songs. No, it's an EP. So I had to be reminded weekly. It's like, you sure? Sure, it's not going to. No, it's just going to be an EP. But it's
Yeah,
arguable the
it's funny
attention
you say
span
that
that.
because most of the time, I am an old school guy. I much rather have like a full length album and like an EP. But I got to tell you, even though this is just 6 songs, I guess you kind of leave people wanting more, if you know what I mean. But that's always a good thing to me. I didn't feel like oh, only 6 songs. Man, I feel cheated. I mean, you guys really deliver the goods here, And before I let you go, Jason, I want to ask about the song. Let's see here. Behind the Leaves. That's another one I really dug. Yeah.
Yeah, that I was I was actually, I believe I was watching a film, or I heard someone say the phrase, but it comes from somewhere. Um, and it was related to the samurai. When I started doing research on it, it's basically Behind the Leaves is I think it has a few different names. It
Okay.
has there's a few different versions. It might even be published. The particular uh, book that is out that is pertaining to the samurai way
Hmm.
might have originally been called Behind the Leaves. It was in Japanese
Oh,
probably,
wow. Wow.
and I could have just been wanting to write a song about the samurai,
Yeah.
and I was doing some research, and that I went down a rabbit hole, and that could
Oh,
have been
okay.
where I found it. It's been a while. I mean, it's going 2 years ago. Behind the Leaves is the first song I wrote for the Night Terror record.
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah,
Wow.
that
Wow.
was the first. That was the first one that I wrote,
What a fun.
and
Wow.
yeah.
Inspiration
So,
comes from all kinds of places, huh?
well, yeah, and my process is not really any different than anybody else, and
Sure.
I'm not comparing myself to
Huh.
other writers, but the process is the same. People
Sure.
watch movies. Writers, they watch movies. They read books.
Yeah.
They might be into a certain religion.
Sure.
They might find phrases and poetry and stuff that will, I mean, that's where a lot of like people who write screenplays, they get it from the same places.
Oh, sure. And
Um,
the last thing I want to ask you about is, for I don't know how long you've been doing it now, but the podcast, Talk Louder podcast. How do you enjoy doing that? Because for years you've been the one being interviewed, and now you're kind of on the other side. You get the opportunity to interview other people.
Yeah, I'm having fun doing it because there's no money in it,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. That's
It's
for sure.
not about that. I'm not getting anything out of it other than maybe keeping my chops up, and
Yeah,
I get to talk about rock and roll with my friends, and then have somebody cool in the room when we talk about rock and roll. And usually our guest is, someone who might be promoting
yeah. Huh. Did we lose Jason? I think we did.
a product, and sometimes it's some. Did you lose me?
Yeah, just for a minute,
Yeah.
but go ahead. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that. I apologize.
that's all right. We're
So,
about ready to
so
wrap
you
it up. Yeah,
usually when we have a guest, they have if they have any star power, we're still in there to nerd out on rock and roll, whether
yeah,
they have
yeah.
something
That's
to
what it's all
promote or
about, man.
not.
That's why I do it.
And
Yeah.
yeah, we've been going for about 5 years now.
Oh wow, and I got to say, in watching the episodes, I think that's the one thing that's really quite apparent. You're having fun at what you're doing.
Oh, for sure. No, there's no doubt. Me and my
Yeah,
co-host Dave Glessner, Metal Dave. Yeah, he's the real journalist between us.
okay.
He's got his name on a lot of different publicist lists and company lists, and he gets commissioned to do articles and reviews for major magazines, as well as stuff in you know newspaper articles, stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
Well,
Review
that's great
bands
for.
coming to town, he'll get called to review the show or whatever. So
Okay, okay. Well, Jason McMaster, it's been great talking to you again. It's been a number of years since I last interviewed. Thanks for taking time to do this. Like I said, the interview will be going up later today. I'll let you know the minute it does and send you the link. But thanks for doing this.
awesome, of course. Thank you very much, man.
Okay, we'll have you back down the line. Take care. Bye bye.
Sounds good.